it nap time? Can I go back to bed? I'll tell you why in just a moment. I'm sleepy. Thank God for coffee. Alright, oh, I made a mess. It's alright. You can't see. 3, 2, 1. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Today is Wednesday. It is February 24th, 2021. How are we almost 2 months in on this year? My name is Jeremy, and this is my first cup of coffee. I need like 8 cups of that. All right. I'm very tired. Why? Remember yesterday when I said, hey, got 3 podcasts I'm recording today. I recorded them. The last one, which some of you know who this is because I mentioned it on Patreon. The last one at 6 o'clock, person who was international, a quite well-known martial artist. We started at 6 o'clock. And set the record, at least on Martial Arts Radio, for the longest podcast we've ever done by a lot. Now, if you know your Martial Arts Radio trivia, you know who the previous record holder was. There's a hint. It's the only episode that was ever released in 2 parts. And this went much longer. I ended it because I was exhausted. I said, sir, that's a good place for us to end. I'm about ready to fall asleep. It's late here. And he went, oh yeah. So we'll talk again. It was a really good conversation. Or I should say a really good episode. I didn't do a lot of talking. There's something really magical about having a knowledgeable person with good information who can articulate it well, make it entertaining, interesting. And they just go. And that's what he did. He just went. And I just stood there and went, okay. Good morning, Stacy. So I didn't get to bed until late. I hadn't had dinner. I was going to have dinner after. That was a late dinner. It wasn't much of a dinner, but I ate. And I watched a little TV. And I went to sleep. And I slept really hard. I don't remember what they were now, but I had weird dreams. Like the cat woke me up. And I remember waking up like, you know when you're in that super deep sleep and you're just like, brrr. You wake up and you're like, oh yeah, this is the real world. It was that. I probably use a few more hours. Yeah. Anything else happened yesterday? No. Sent out an autographed copy of Martial Artist Handbook. Somebody ordered one. Always means a lot when somebody does that. We make a few dollars on them. Yay! Launched, you know what? I'm going to make an announcement about this on Facebook and we'll probably promote it on some things. But those Taekwondo uniforms, they're up. They're finally up. I finished the video that I needed to finish to promote them. They're on the website. Hoping I don't have to send them to Amazon. I don't want to deal with Amazon anymore. I really don't. Stacy says, I want my Katana Chronicles signed. Someday I'll be able to see you in person. Absolutely. I would gladly sign it. But just the whole dealing with Amazon thing is just so much work. It really is. The only thing that we've sold on Amazon that I would say really worked out was the sparring gear. the luminary uniforms were on the verge of working out, but I need to put in another order, and that's like another $2,500. It's not the best use of $2,500 right now. That's the biggest shift that's been in my mind with whistlekick in the last probably 18 months. If I'm going to spend $1,000 or $5 or an hour of my time to advance whistlekick, it needs to be the best use of that money or that time. Otherwise, I should do something else. Here's $100. What can you do with it? What's the best thing you can do with it? And I don't think that we look at money and time that way. Those are finite resources. You can make more money, but it requires the investment of more time. If you've got an hour, what's the best way to use that hour? Sometimes relaxing is the best use of that hour. I did a bunch of that in between episodes yesterday. I needed to. But once that hour is gone, you don't get it back, so you should be intentional with it. And the same thing with the money. Yeah, you can make another $100 or $1,000 or whatever, but that $100 or $1,000 is gone. What do you spend it on? I used to spend it on dumb stuff. I still do buy some dumb stuff, but the dumb stuff makes me happy. What I'm trying not to do is buy dumb stuff that only makes me happy for a short time. And the best example of that, I'm going to explain my thought process, is this thing, this Chromebook. So if you were here yesterday, you know I bought a Chromebook. So I've been thinking about a Chromebook for a while. Ever since I learned, oh, you can put Android apps on it. What if I can use my phone less and use this thing, because it'll be further from my eyes, I can type on it, and I've been deliberating and researching. It's like, all right, so, $200-ish, $250 for a cheap one. Let's start with a cheap one, see if it's what I want to do. If it works out the way I want it to, I'll buy a nicer one and I'll have a spare. So I'm standing there in Best Buy for, I don't know, an hour looking at literally like 3 options and running this through in my head. Now my laptop, my normal Windows laptop, had been doing some weird things that day. So I realized having a spare computer isn't a bad thing. I do have some other spares, but they're older. That laptop is, my current laptop's 3 years old. I want to say the newest spare laptop I have is 5 or 6 years old. So nothing new there. And the hope was this would do everything my phone does, but with a tablet, with a keyboard. So I get home and I set it up, and it doesn't. It doesn't do everything. It doesn't let you install every Android app. There are very few that work. Microsoft Office works, yay! But mostly it's a web browser. That's really all it is. Okay, that's fine. Had I bought the $600 really nice one that I was drawn to, I would be using it in the same way, but I'd be feeling guilty. There's something to be said for spending some money or some time to figure out the way to spend money and time, to do research. Oh, there's another one coming. Excuse me. Sorry. This tablet, work, life, I believe strongly, this would probably be the title of my memoir someday. I didn't know what I didn't know. Thank you, Stacey says, gesundheit. I didn't know what I didn't know. I assumed that when all the marketing say Google Apps, that they're going to work, that there was something in the platform that allowed any of them to work. That's not the case. Had I suspected, oh, maybe only some of them work, I would have researched that thing. Because the research that I did didn't say, oh, only some of the apps will work. So now it makes sense. Now it makes sense why Everyone doesn't have one of these. You live and you learn. Anything else happened yesterday? I watered plants. The only departure from the house was to the mailbox. That was the extent of leaving the house. I didn't see another person in physical form. I didn't do anything. I worked. Today's gonna be a little different. What is today? I've got a client call. I'm gonna keep chipping away at the strength speed hybrid program. It's coming. It's coming. It takes time. It's not. I don't enjoy the stage I'm at now. I don't enjoy it. It's not fun. It's taking the flow, the algorithm I've built, these movements done in this way, and I've got to write it out a short program for each one. Well, there's 90 slots. I think yesterday I did 5 or 6. Not my best work. But I'll get there eventually. And I have to say, I think this program is going to be the best one yet. So it's worth finishing. What else? Do the books. I'm going to go to the gym. I've been in the gym since Sunday. There's a bunch of other work in there. Yeah. Chipping away. I think the carpenter's coming back to work on stuff. Things are looking good. He did some work in the bathroom on Monday. If you own a home, finding a good handyman, whatever you want to call him, is critical. Just do it. Just do it. Somebody who can just, hey, can you do this, and this, all these like 17 little things that, like a contractor wouldn't want to do? Yeah, sure, I can do that. Okay, cool. Do it. Thanks. Here's a bill for a new house. Here's a new house and a bill that doesn't even come close to reflecting the value you get out of it. It's, like he rehung that door. That's a big deal. I never opened that door because it's a pain in the butt. Now I have a new door. Not a new door. All right. I am rambling. So let's see what you all gave me to talk about. Oh, don't forget, next Tuesday, final episode of Whistlekick Live. Final one. Be there. 8 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time on Facebook. Oh, wrong one. Okay. So today I see stuff from John and from Frank. All right, thanks guys. I'm gonna read. Let's see, what do we got? I'm gonna read John's first. John's responding to my conversation yesterday about violence, and let me read this. Stacy's talking about Whistlekick Live. Both glad for you and sad for me about that final. It's sad because something's ending, but it creates space to do something else. And, here's the thing and that I'm incredibly proud of. If you go back to the first episode, Gabe and I did this thing. It was kind of lame. But then look at the last few episodes. Have there been a couple little technical difficulties? Yeah. Add up the total amount of time we put into producing a 60-minute show. Far less than 40 hours when you add up everybody's time. And then compare the quality of that to something else. Any other 60-minute programming. If you were to find some way of dividing quality over time, we knocked it out of the park. We absolutely crushed it. There's nowhere else for it to go. We could add more time. It's not going to get much better with the resources that we have. So it's time for us to invest that time in other things. Those 18 episodes will stand. Doesn't mean we won't bring it back at some point, but we know what it is. We know where it might fit. So John's responding to yesterday's comment about violence, or a lot of comments about violence. I hate violence. I have never been in a fight, and I hope that it stays that way. On the other hand, I find so much joy in martial arts training, especially sparring. It's a hard thing to explain. You get to know and care for the group of people that you train with, but can't wait to get a chance to kick them in the head, with control, of course. If you hear loud noises, snow is coming off the roof. It's like 33 degrees. It was warm overnight. I was woken up in the middle of the night by a huge pile of snow hitting the ground and shaking the house. John and I seem to be on the same page. Having been in a fight, not wanting to be in a fight, enjoying training, enjoying sparring. What I love about sparring has nothing to do with the violent aspect. Sparring to me isn't even combative. And that's probably because the sparring that I'm doing tends to be much lighter contact. It's more point sparring style. And what I like about it is it's challenging, it's fun, and it forces me to get better. When someone does something really good, I have to be better. I've had instances where I tell the people I'm sparring, okay, here's what you got to do. You know, for example, the best thing I tell people is, you can't spar me like I'm 5'7". You have to spar me like I'm 6 foot. If you give me that kind of space, I'm gonna tag you. My hips are very flexible. I can get reach. There's a roundhouse kick that I do that maybe I'll do a video on sometime. That nobody ever sees coming. If I get the right distance on it, just beat the way it comes in. It comes over the backside. So if I'm here, if I'm the person I'm sparring, it comes over. This is my foot. Comes over the backside, and it turns over right there, the end on the neck. And they're like, "Hey, when did your foot get there?" I was like, "Yeah, just now." I miss sparring. Was it back at the beginning of the pandemic? I recorded with Jared and Ando. Yeah. The first super podcast. Yesterday we did a super podcast. It was myself and Jason Brick and Chris Wilder. And I don't know if you guys follow Chris Wilder. He does some cool stuff, and somehow we haven't had him on the show, and need to. He's a really good dude. We clicked. I felt like maybe Chris and I stepped on Jason too much, and I apologize. Good morning, Emmett. But I let Leslie know, let's get Chris on the show, because I think that would be fun. He has a podcast too. He's been doing it. He's part of the old guard. There are a handful of us, and I think he started before I did. So it's always cool to connect with those guys who've been around longer. You know, got a lot of respect for that. Wow, I really am rambling today. Let me make sure I'm done with what John said. Oh, yeah, super podcast. So, one of the things I remember saying that Ando didn't believe me was, I miss training so much, I miss getting punched in the face. Like, I would love to get punched in the face right now. Not hard, not like have my teeth knocked out, but just, I miss that engagement. I miss that physical contact that it's just so familiar to me. Remember, I've been sparring my entire life, since I was 4 years old. This is something I've been doing. There is nothing I've done longer than martial arts other than like eat, sleep, and breathe. I miss it. I miss training with people in that way. Soon. God, I hope it's soon. All the numbers that seem to be coming back are suggesting that infection rates and death rates are on the way down, so please. I'm losing my mind. But yes, John, I'm right there with you. And Frank gave us 4 quotes from Louis Armstrong. You know Louis Armstrong, right? You better know Louis Armstrong. Some of you young folks been saying to me, hey, Pops, what you mean, what a wonderful world? That's how you better know him. How about all them wars all over the place? You call them wonderful? And how about hunger and pollution? That ain't so wonderful either. Well, how about listening to old Pops for a minute? Seems to me it ain't the world that's so bad, but what we're doing to it. And all I'm saying is, see, what a wonderful world it would be if only we'd give it a chance. Love, baby, love. That's the secret, yeah. If lots more of us loved each other, we'd solve lots more problems, and then this world would be a gasser. It's interesting how often we see this sentiment expressed, this idea that, hey, let's be kind, let's be loving, let's have empathy, let's be respectful, yada, 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 yada. We see it everywhere. But why isn't it happening? Because everybody's expecting everybody else to do it or to start it. People aren't focused on what they can do personally. I think I've shared it on the show, one of my personal life mantras that I've had for a very long time. My goal is to do slightly more than my share. Because that's the appropriate amount. I can't fix everything from everyone. For example, recycling or trash. I recycle everything I can. And when I go for a walk, I'll pick up 1 or 2 things and bring them back and take care of them. I don't donate 100% of my money to charitable organizations, but I give a little bit. When someone's hurting, I don't invest all of my free time in trying to take care of them, but I try to check in with them once in a while and say, hey, you doing all right? We underestimate the impact of small actions. The very notion of martial arts training requires the acknowledgement that small actions compounded over time lead to big results. What if you apply that philosophy to life? I'm going to get a 1% better at this. I'm going to do a little bit of that. I'm going to help that person a bit. You can't do everything. So do a little bit. It adds up. Emmett says, a friend of mine said sparring is his de-stressing tool and said lockdown to him is similar to taking medication from a long-term anxiety sufferer. Cold turkey is not good. Yeah, I am sad for people like that. This whole thing's been a mixed bag. We're not going to unpack it. I don't have the context to speak on it authoritatively, so I'm not going to bother. Because I know my place. If anybody out there has a thumbs up button they can hit it. Please. Thank you. Next. If I don't practice for a day, I know it. If I don't practice for 2 days, the critics know it. And if I don't practice for 3 days, the public knows it. Oof. That seems so directly relevant to training that I don't know how to say anything about it. Yes. Practice. Can't practice everything every day. Practice something. There's always more to practice. There's always more to do. There's always something else to get better at. The Jeremy Lesniak martial arts videos that I put out a couple weeks ago. I wrote down like 5 more than I want to do yesterday. I've got so many more that I can do. I'm really excited for them. One of the projects that we're going to do here, the carpenter, is a little bit of finish work in the warehouse. so I can do some recording in that space. And I'm excited for that, because that means some of these concepts that don't require me having a person to beat on or demonstrate with, I can just go up and record. And that, I'm pumped for that. Next. Each man has his own music bubbling up inside him. That reminds me of one of the nicest, most memorable things my mother ever did for me. Because I didn't know she was doing this. She might not even remember that she did this. And the irony here, without going into it, my mother and I have a strained relationship. I'm enough of her that we clash. Let's put it that way. At the back of my yearbook in high school, my senior year, she bought an ad, right? Put a photo in it, and it was a photo. Photo's like over there. It's a picture, it's the earliest picture I'm aware of me at a competition. I was probably 6. We've narrowed it down to one of 2 tournaments in Maine. I'm not quite sure which one. And I'm bowing. And I missed. It's a hammer and shield. I was probably doing Seochin. And instead of here, I was here, right? 6. I know what I was doing. And so that picture, and the caption says, "Every man moves to the beat of a different drum. Let him step to the music which he hears." Something like that. I think that's it. We all have music inside us. Whether it's music or whether it's just a cadence to life. There's that flame, that creative element, that energy. It's part of life. Maybe it doesn't manifest into the real world as something that is musical or even creative, but it's still there. It's still inside you. And I think it's important to recognize it, and if possible, indulge it. I know I'm better when I'm able to exercise my creative energy. Writing the novel was a big part of that. Writing the novel set the pace for my day. Working on this training program was supposed to be the follow-up to that, but it doesn't do anywhere close to the same thing. One more. We got one more. Remember, if you've got questions, comments, feedback, drop them in the comment section below after the show closes. If you're new to the show, make sure you hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because we do the show every weekday, 6:30 a.m. U.S. Eastern Time here on YouTube. Catch it later in audio form in your podcast player. It really puzzles me to see marijuana connected with narcotics, dope, and all that stuff. It is 1,000 times better than whiskey. It is an assistant and a friend. Well, I don't speak publicly about marijuana very often, but I use marijuana. It helps a number of things. It helps me sleep. I am not a stoner. I waited till after college to even try it. Our drug laws in this country are kind of stupid. If you go take a look at the DEA drug schedule, that's all you have to do. Take a look at it. See if it makes sense to you. Stacy says, because you are awesome at story, engaging story. The training bits are good, but not story and dialogue. Yeah. Thanks. But it seems like we're getting better about our drug policy in this country. I don't endorse anybody doing anything or condone. You gotta do what's right for you. I don't eat meat. I'm not gonna tell you to not eat meat. I'm not gonna tell you should eat meat. understand your choices. Whether that's training, or your diet, or drug use, or, I don't know, whether or not you should watch this show. There you go. It's kind of my philosophy to life. So, thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for your support. If you want to grab one of these mugs, go to whistlekick.com. You can grab one of the Taekwondo uniforms at whistlekick.com. And that's it. So I'll see you back here tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Peace.